What's up, family? Man, it's beautiful out here. You know what I mean? It's raining, it's lightning, it's thundering. Man, I love that. You know what I mean? I love seeing and hearing nature show off. You know what I mean? That's nature talking to us. Um, I'm weird like that. Um, but I posted a video yesterday talking about where diamonds understand the process. And a lot of people sent me private messages, talking about, man, well, what the heck was I supposed to learn through this? And how come went through this? And I understand I went through this and da 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 da. But man, I don't see the lesson in why did I have to go through this and what the lesson was this and that. Man, and I get that. I get that. You know what I mean? You could go through things in life, and at the time, it's hard to understand the lessons. You know what I mean? It's hard to understand what it is that we're supposed to learn while going through hell. You know what I mean? What it is we're supposed to learn while we're getting the crap squeezed out of us. You know what I mean? What good is that? What benefit is that? You know what I mean? What am I supposed to get from this? And it's hard to see that. It's hard to understand that, when you're in pain, to see the message. When you're in pain and you're crying and you're broken and you're barely hanging on, it's hard to slow down, breathe, exhale, whoosah, you know what I mean? And learn the lesson. You know what I mean? It's hard to see the big picture when you're in the midst of the hell. It's hard to see the big picture when you're barely hanging on for life. I get that. Been there, done that. Been there, done that. You know what I mean? Um, and again, this is one of the great benefits of learning to meditate. You know what I mean? Learning to meditate is, man, regardless of my circumstances, I'm able to take time out. I'm able to exhale. I'm able to just sit in the moment, lay in the moment, and just let it all go. You know what I mean? And not only let it all go, but relax my mind. Relax all of the emotional trauma, the emotional pain, you know, and be able to sit down and figure out what the lesson is. This is not something that you're going to be able to do overnight. This is a process. Again, it's a process. You have to learn how to do this. So many of us, we talk about learned behaviors. So many of us, we get mad and we react. We get mad and we snap back. We react, we get mad, and man, we get all caught up in our feelings and in our emotions, and man, we want to do something. You know what I mean? Those are learned behaviors. Just like we've learned those negative, toxic behaviors, we have to unlearn those behaviors and learn new behaviors. Learn behaviors that's going to help us, that's going to be productive to our growth and development. And part of that is learning how to meditate. Meditating is just taking a time out. You know what I mean? Taking a pause. Regardless of what's going on around you, taking a pause. I remember now that I'm older, now that I've sat back and I've done my shadow work. Shadow work, again, is going back in and seeing all the things that you've gone through, all your experiences, all the trauma, all the pain, all the suffering, whoop-de whoop. You know what I mean? And understanding the lessons of them. And it's crazy because we always associate shadow work with all bad stuff. You could have positive stuff that happened to you in your life that become part of your shadow work that you have to resolve, that you have to get over. You know what I mean? You have to deal with. It don't necessarily have to be something painful. It don't necessarily have to be something bad that's happened. It could be something good that has you stuck there. You know what I mean? You could have a relationship with a parent, or you could have had the love of your life or whatever, and something happened and you're stuck there now. You know what I mean? You're stuck in that moment, the greatest moment of your high school experience, when you scored 4 touchdowns, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? When you won that award, you know what I mean? That drawing contest, that spelling bee. It could be anything. Anything can get you stuck, positive or negative. You know what I mean? And so shadow work is just going in and figure out where you got stuck at. Regardless of what happened, you got stuck there. And I hear so many people talk about, man, the glory days. Man, when they knocked out this fool back in high school, when they ran this 10.5 5 or whatever, in a race, in high school, in junior high school, whatever the case may be. People are reliving their glory days. They're stuck there. They're stuck there. And so that becomes part of their shadow work. Everything we go through is to teach us something. Everything. Everything we experience is to teach us something. And so when I lost my mom at the age of 2, I saw her murdered by my father. Not even understanding, it put me in a mind frame of being Captain Save-A-Hole. And what I mean by that, I've always been that type of person to where, man, I'm going to come to the defense of a woman. I'm going to come to the defense of a female that's getting abused by some dude. You know what I mean? That's always been my MO. That's always been who I was. You know what I mean? Why? Because that's what I saw my dad doing. I saw my dad abusing my mom, and I couldn't do anything about it as a 2-year-old kid. I was completely helpless in defending my mom. And so part of the lesson in that for me was, man, you got to come to the defense of the helpless ones. You got to be a voice for the helpless ones. You're not going to let just anybody get mistreated. You're not going to let the elderly get abused. You're not going to let little kids get abused. You're not going to let women get abused and not do something to stop it. At the same time, it taught me to respect and to cherish women. Stay with me, I'm going somewhere. It taught me to not having my mom in my life and missing my mom and wanting my mom and seeing all these other kids with their mom. Man, it was breaking. It was devastating to me. It was heartbreaking to me. Knowing that I would never see my mom again, knowing that I would never hear her voice again, knowing that I would never taste her food again, knowing I wouldn't see her smile again, knowing I wouldn't hear her voice again. That was devastating to me. That was heartbreaking. And so it taught me to cherish that. To cherish it because you don't know when you're going to lose it. Cherish it because when it's gone, it's gone. When it's gone, it's gone. And that's why when my wife passed away in 2015, man, that was so devastating to me because it took me back to the pain of losing my mom. It took me back to the process, man, I'll never see her again in this lifetime. I'll never hear her voice again. I'll never see her smile again. I'll never feel her hug, her embrace again. I'll never hear her whisper she loves me again. I'll never feel her rub my bald head again. You know what I mean? And so there's all these things that you get stuck at. And so you got to learn to embrace them and to cherish those moments while they're there. The good, the bad, whatever, it's all good. It's all good. I've gone through so many relationships where I've had my heart broke. So many relationships. And all they were teaching was, man, Elijah, and going back to my mom, man, Elijah, you got to learn to love yourself. You have to learn to love yourself. You have to learn to be proud of yourself. Man, I would go to my mom's grave and I would stand there and just look at her gravesite. And man, I would cry. I would break down crying. I'm in my late 40s doing this. My mom's been gone over 40 something years, and I'm standing at her gravesite crying, talking to her, hoping that she's proud of me. And what I had to learn was, man, Elijah, how come you ain't proud of yourself? How come you can't pat yourself on the back? How come you can't be proud that you overcame all the hell that you went through? Regardless of whether anybody else said anything to you or not, regardless of whether anybody else pats you on the back, regardless of whether anybody else acknowledges all the pain and suffering you endured. You have to learn to appreciate yourself. You have to learn to pat yourself on the back. You have to learn to make yourself happy. You have to learn to love yourself. And that was hard for me to do. That was hard for me to do because, again, I grew up in church. And in church, you weren't supposed to love yourself. You were supposed to love God, Jesus, everybody else. And then you last. But loving yourself was considered pride. So we were taught that you don't love yourself. And the fact that we were constantly beat down, told we were stupid, dumb, we wouldn't amount to anything, we'd be in prison for the rest of our lives once we turned 18, or we'd be dead and gone, blah, blah, blah. We had the devil and the Zeus going to hell. We was told all this stupid stuff. And so it was hard to love yourself. It's like, how the heck am I supposed to love myself? I ain't even worthy of love. My family don't even love me. God don't even love me. You know what I mean? If God loved me, then he wouldn't have killed my mom. If God loved me, he wouldn't allow me to be molested at 6 years old by church people. If God loved me, he wouldn't allow me to be in this abusive household, this abusive, retarded family. If God loved me, he would have gave me a better life. And so when you go through all the things that we go through, it's hard to love yourself. I get that. I get it. But that's why we go through all the breakups. That's why we go through all the heartbreaks. That's why we go through all the disappointments. That's why we lose the loved ones that we do. Why? So that we can learn to love ourselves. So we can learn to just be able to give ourselves a hug. So that we can learn to be able to say, dang, you're beautiful. Not just externally, but you're beautiful on the inside. You have a beautiful spirit. You have a beautiful mind. People may not see that, but it's okay. I see that. We have to learn who we are. And all the things that we go through are trying to teach us who we are and where we need to work on, what we need to work on. And so for me, I'm passionate about love. I'm passionate about relationships. I'm passionate about growth and development. I'm passionate about all these different things. Why? Because they were the things that I struggled with. They were the things that hurt me the most growing up and in my adult life. And you hear people say all the time, that which doesn't break you makes you stronger. Yeah, obviously. But we miss that when it comes to relationships. We miss that when it comes to failed relationships. We miss that when it comes to broken hearts. We miss that when it comes to abandonment issues. We miss that when it comes to disappointments in life. Everything is intended to make you stronger. Everything is intended to make you stronger. We have to learn to take a pause. We have to learn to take a time out and look and reflect on the bigger picture. Interesting. In church, they used to always say, let your light shine. And in masonry, the fraternity I'm in, they talk about, man, I see your light. I see your light. And what they were talking about was your Masonic emblem that you wore. You know, whether it's the ring or my tattoo I got on my arm or whatever, you know what I mean? And they talking about, man, I see your light. I see your light. But it was deeper than that. In the spiritual movement now, we talk about, man, I see your light. And what they're talking about, man, I see your aura. I see your aura. I see your spirit. I see your glow. I see the real you, not just who you are on the outside, not just your external, but I see the internal you, the hidden you. the mystical you, the magical you, the spiritual you, the emotional you, the intellectual you. Can you let those lights shine? Can those lights reflect your true person? Can all that you go through, all that you've gone through, can you shine in all of that? Can you carry the weight of the world and still shine? Can you carry your problems and still shine? Can you carry the fact that you don't know what's going to happen, how things are going to play out, and so there's that uncertainty there, and whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's housing situation, whatever you're going through, can you carry that, knowing that, man, all things work together for my good. I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't have to be a control freak about it. I don't have to try to manipulate and control and orchestrate some things to make things happen. I can sit back and relax knowing that, man, it's all good. It's all going to work out for me. And so, although I have this uncertainty, man, I still have peace of mind knowing that, man, it's all good. And the uncertainty only plays a role in, man, I don't have the answer of how it's going to happen, of what's going to happen. But I do know intuitively that it's going to happen, that things are going to work out for me. Regardless of the answer, regardless of the result, I know that the end result is that it's all good. This is going to teach me some things. This is going to help me grow. This is going to push me further along on my path, on my journey, so I can have peace of mind knowing that. So many of us, we want answers. We want specific answers. How is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? You know what I mean? Because we're control freaks. We're control freaks. And when you're a control freak, you can't let your light shine. When you're a control freak, it's impossible to let your light shine. Family. It's amazing as kids, we grow up and, man, we have all these dreams, all these aspirations of what we want to be, what we want to accomplish in our life. All these things we want to do, all these places we want to go, all these things we want to experience. And then some things happen in life that caught us off blue, caught us out of the blue, caught us off guard, you know what I mean? And man, it knocked the wind out of us. Man, it pulled the rug from up under our feet. Man, it turned our world upside down. And so we went from being these kids full of hope, full of life, full of joy, full of anticipation. And now we're just adults. Bitter, toxic, frustrated, depressed, full of anxiety, angry. Because all that we wanted to accomplish, all that we wanted to experience, all of our hopes and dreams appear to have been dashed and taken from us. My hope and prayer is that you understand what it all means. As a kid, I wanted to be a psychologist. I've always had this thing for psychology. And as an adult, I help so many people psychologically. You know what I mean? I don't have a doctorate degree in psychology. You know what I mean? But I help so many people with their traumas. I help so many people deal with and overcome their childhood traumas, their pains, their fears, their insecurities. And although I was frustrated that things didn't turn out for me the way I planned as a kid, things didn't work out the way I wanted them to, the things didn't work out the way I planned for them to. It's the thunder. I love that. Things are always working out for me. I'm still doing all of that. And the truth be told, I'm probably helping more people than I would have sitting in the office somewhere. I'm reaching people that I wouldn't have been able to reach just sitting in an office somewhere. I'm helping people that couldn't afford or wouldn't reach out to a psychologist because of their pride, because of their financial situations, or whatever the case may be. Just because things don't quote unquote turn out the way you plan, just because things don't work out the way you think they should, don't mean that they're not working out the way that they're supposed to. We have to learn to sit back and take a pause and understand and see the bigger picture. I love you guys. Happy healing. Let your light shine. Peace.